Every week I hear the same frustration from practice owners. We are packed with the patients, but the revenue is not piling up. And here is the truth. It's just not about you, it's all about the systems. What does that really mean? It is highly important to have systems and processes in place for each and every business. Whether you are a startup, you're a small medical practice, or you're just starting off setting up your new practice. It requires to have right systems and right processes in place. Otherwise, you will struggle at the end of the day. Today, billing is just not simple. It's a combination and a complex coding. It's about following the insurance rules and patient collections. Generally, there's a misconception about billing processes is that it's a simple data entry, but apparently it's not the case. It's a highly regulated industry and hence complex processes. You need subject matter expertise to really making sure you're running your billing processes in a streamlined manner. Even a small mistakes cost you thousands of dollars. Just think about it. The small data collection related issues are going to end up with the claim denials, and hence it costs you money for your practice. While your billing is not managed in an appropriate way, your staff gets burned out because they really don't know what to chase and where to focus on. Hence, it is highly important to make sure your billing team has the appropriate systems in place so they can just follow the systems and carry on with their regular workflow instead of getting into a chaotic situation. In this video, we'll have a deep dive to talk about what are the general issues and problems practice owners are facing. And I will also talk about a framework that will help you really managing some of these problems that you're facing today. And I'll also provide you a solution with a clear framework that's something you can own and implement it to really run your practice operations. First of all, let's talk about the denied claims. 10 to 15% of the claims are getting denied on average, causing lost revenue for your practice. Secondly, the patient responsibility is another major problem practice owners are facing, where they're unable to collect revenues, they're unable to collect patient responsibility from the patients. Either it's because of the deductibles or any patient responsibility that patient owes to your practice. Generally, when I meet with the practice owners, I often come across this situation. They're good at recovering the insurance insurance payments from the payers conveniently, as long as their insurance related processes are well equipped. However, patients collections plays a very important and a major role to streamline your overall revenue. This is one of the major pain point most of the practice owners are facing today. You should really have a right process in place to collect the deductibles. In order to make sure you're collecting your patient responsibility, you need to have the right process and the right systems that will help you recover that money. Rule changes from the payer's end is another pain point. Considering healthcare, which is a highly regulated industry, it is very much important for you to be well versed with the current and updated rules from the payer side. In order to make that happen, your billing team should really have good understanding and knowledge about the latest payer rules that will not only help you keep yourself compliant, but at the same time making sure your processes are pretty much aligned as per the direction set up by the payers itself. The challenges related to having a skilled staff is one of the major challenge practice owners often talk about, where we have seen there's a clear knowledge gap between what the skill set required for a biller position versus the staff you're hiring to run your billing operations. I personally believe when you hire a biller, it is important and essential to assess their skill set, their expertise, and their knowledge related to medical billing and the processes that employee is going to support you on. So it is your responsibility to make sure either you work with somebody who's knowledgeable, who is skilled person, or you hire somebody who can help you really manage your billing operations in an efficient manner. I was on a call with one of the group practice last week, and this practice was losing about 20% of their revenue just because of untrained billers they've hired in-house. So this practice was really managing their billing by themselves. They had a couple of billers who were managing their work overall. Considering the volume, pretty much they were focused on the claim submission, but not really chasing the claims. When you're not chasing the claims, you know what happens. At the end of the day, you lose money. It is highly important that you follow up. You get the status of each and every claim that you have submitted to the payers and see where it stands and what is the current status looks like. If there is a denial because of any reason, it is your biller's responsibility to make sure they fix those denials and make sure your revenues are getting on time, that your cash flows are pretty much streamlined. If these things are not processed properly, that will cost you big money. To really cope up with these challenges that I just talked about, I'm going to provide you with a framework that will help you overcome these issues in your practice. First of all, create a billing workflow map. A process map really highlights the steps your biller or your billing team should be following. It really starts from getting intake from the front desk and making sure their claim pointer alignment settings are pretty much aligned as per the protocols, procedure code, the diagnosis codes are applied accordingly, and the claim becomes ready for the submission. Similarly, an additional step has to be in play where someone from your practice is doing a quality check to ensure accurate information was compiled and is ready for the submission. Then you really submit the claim. Just think about it. If your claim is submitted accurate in the first go, it will help you really reduce your time which is spent on the follow-ups and chasing insurance payers. Similarly, as part of the process maps, you really need to outline after claim submission what steps needs to be taken to follow up with the payers. First of all, checking the claim status from payer portals or calling the payers itself and making sure what is the current status of the claim looks like today. You also need to set up the frequency to ensure your billing team is checking the claim status and following up with the payers pretty much every week. That should be a standard process. And lastly, as part of the process, your team should be able to verify the payments received, depose the payments, and reconcile it. So it's pretty much end-to-end. All of these steps, all of these processes should be very clearly outlined and has to be followed in a rigorous way to achieve the good results. The second most pillar in this framework is really checking your performance through your established practice KPIs. It really talks about multiple KPIs, talking about your denial rate, your first pass resolution rate, your claim paid ratio, your charge to payment ratio. So these KPIs really talks about your practice performance against the industry benchmarks. By following and reviewing these KPIs on a weekly basis, not only help you identify those gaps where you as a practice or your billing team is lagging behind, but also it will help you identify the root cause behind it, because it's very much important for you to understand, because if you're unable to identify why you're unable to meet those KPIs, what is causing it, whether it's a biller issue, it's a process issue, it's a system issue, it's a subject matter issue. So you identify these problems or these issues and fix those issues. That's number one. Similarly, these KPIs will also help you compare yourself at an industry level benchmarks. So whether if you're meeting those benchmarks, it means your billing operations are pretty much smooth, you're running at a very good pace, and now it's time to scale up and really thrive your practice. Thirdly, use of technology is highly important. I can still see I meet people who really do not use EHR systems or the practice management systems, or they simply rely on biller to just start managing a practice management tool just to process the billing. But essentially, I strongly believe it is very much important for you to be well versed with the technology, number one. And number two, your team should be well trained on the technologies and the tools that you're using for the system. If you're not using it, it's important to start utilizing it, because it's part of the compliance. You're required to use these compliance softwares for your practice. It's important. Some of these tools are really integrated with the clearinghouse, where your claim data is getting submitted to the clearinghouse, and at the end of the day, it gets submitted to the payers. It also helps you with automated posting of the payments and the reconciliation of the payments within your practice management tool. So essentially, technology is very important. Your understanding on the technology is super important and beneficial for your practice and for the growth of your business. And lastly, and most importantly, upskill your billing team. What does that really mean? Your billing team should have good understanding about the latest and recent updates from the peers, updates from the industry. There are pretty much every quarter we see there are some changes being announced, either from the government, from the compliance standpoint, from the regulatory bodies, as well as commercial or the government payers. So by arranging these training sessions for your team, at least on a quarterly basis, it's important for them to really understand what's happening in the marketplace, what are the recent updates. They equip themselves with the latest knowledge, techniques, so they get rid of stale practices and start following the latest and the best market standard practices. So in a nutshell, creating a clear and crisp process maps, monitoring your KPIs on a weekly basis, training your team on the latest trends and technology, and use of technology really helps you drive and overcome the challenges related to your billing operations. We often see people consider billing just an additional admin work, but apparently that's not the case. It's the backbone of your practice, because your practice revenue is purely dependent on the billing team. So the billing team is really a financial engine for your practice. Just you have to take it very serious. Keep it at a high importance. You should treat it like operations, just not the basic paperwork. Especially the small practices and the medium-sized practices, they struggle with these nuances. And for a group practice, it is really important to have a proper billing department in place, where there's a manager who is overseeing your billing requirements, There's a team underneath it, people who are following their processes, who is following the guidelines and making sure there is accountability and reward that help your team drive it efficiently, because having the right team, right management will help you not only stabilize your billing operations but thrive your practice by expanding your geographical outreach and expanding your offerings related to your practice and specialty. In the next videos, I'll break down step by step how to turn your billing into a systemized way, having the right processes in place, what processes needs to be in place, how to draft those processes and procedures that help you implement it in your own practice. So stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel if you really wanted to stay ahead in the curve and get really good insights on identifying the gaps related to your practice and implementing some of these best practices to manage your practice, your business.